The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent. 47 species had gathered for this emergency meeting, and every eye turned toward the human standing in the center of the room. Ambassador Ji-Won Park stood perfectly still. Her dark suit was simple compared to the flowing robes and gleaming armor worn by the other delegates. She kept her hands clasped behind her back, her face calm as the council leader spoke. "Humanity," the council leader announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You stand accused of crimes against galactic peace." Ji-Won said nothing. She simply waited. The council leader was a Vortan, a species that looked like walking crystals. Light moved through his body as he spoke, flashing red with anger. For 80 years, Earth has interfered in the affairs of other worlds. You have broken every law of non-intervention. You have acted as if you rule the galaxy. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed human operatives stopping a weapons shipment on the Keltor homeworld. Another image showed humans disrupting a political rally on Thresh Prime. More and more images appeared, each one showing Earth interfering somewhere in the galaxy. "We have proof," another delegate said. This was Speaker Vex of the Krillian Empire. "Your people have sabotaged legitimate governments. You have prevented lawful commerce. You have inserted yourselves into conflicts that were none of your concern." Ji-Won finally spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "May I respond to these charges?" "You may," the council leader said, "though your words will change nothing. The evidence is absolute." "I do not deny any of it," Ji-Won said simply. Gasps filled the chamber. Several delegates started talking at once. The council leader raised one crystalline hand for silence. "You admit to these crimes?" he asked. "I admit that Earth has taken actions across the galaxy," Ji-Won said. "Actions that appeared to be interference. Actions that seemed to violate your laws." "Appeared?" Speaker Vex's scales rattled with anger. "There is no appearance here. You stopped our military from acquiring weapons we had legally purchased." "Yes," Ji-Won agreed. "We did. You sabotaged the election on Thresh Prime. We prevented certain individuals from taking power, yes. You sent operatives to dozens of worlds without permission. Hundreds of worlds, actually," Ji-Won corrected gently. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some called for Earth's immediate destruction. Others demanded that humanity be exiled from civilized space. The council leader let them rage for several minutes before restoring order. "The Galactic Council votes on one question," he declared. "Does Earth's interference warrant a declaration of war?" The vote was unanimous. All 47 species voted yes. "Ambassador Park," the council leader said formally, "the Galactic Council hereby declares war upon humanity. Your species will answer for its crimes. You have 72 hours to evacuate your embassies and recall your people. After that, any human found outside Earth's solar system will be considered an enemy combatant." Ji-Won stood quietly through this announcement. Then something strange happened. The corner of her mouth moved slightly upward. It was barely noticeable, but several delegates saw it. She was smiling. "Ambassador," the council leader asked, confused, "do you understand what has just occurred?" "I understand perfectly," Ji-Won said. Her smile grew a little wider. "It's finally time." "Finally time?" Speaker Vex demanded. "Finally time for what? For your species to face justice?" "No," Ji-Won said softly. "Finally time to tell you the truth." The delegates looked at each other uncertainly. This was not the reaction they had expected. Humans were supposed to beg for mercy. They were supposed to argue and defend themselves. They were not supposed to smile. "What truth?" the council leader asked suspiciously. "The truth about why we interfered," Ji-Won said. "The truth about what we were really doing all these years. The truth about what is wrong with this galaxy. There is nothing wrong with this galaxy except for Earth, another delegate shouted. Jiwon shook her head slowly. That is exactly what someone infected would say. Infected? The council leader's light flashed bright red. What are you talking about? I am talking about the reason this council just voted unanimously for war, Jiwon said. I am talking about the reason your species have become more aggressive over the past centuries. I am talking about the sovereign plague. Several delegates laughed. Others looked confused. The council leader's light dimmed to a suspicious orange. There is no such thing, he said. There is, Jiwon replied, and it has infected most of you. That is why we had to act in secret. That is why we could not tell you what we were doing. Because the infected do not believe they are sick. They cannot see how the plague has changed them. This is absurd, Speaker Vex said. You invent diseases to excuse your crimes. I understand you think that, Jiwon said calmly. The plague makes you think that. It makes you unable to see the truth. Enough, the council leader commanded. We will not listen to human lies. The vote is final. War is declared. I understand, Jiwon said. She bowed slightly. However, I request one thing. Give us 48 hours instead of 72. We can evacuate our people faster than that, and it will give you more time to prepare your fleets, the delegates whispered among themselves. This request was suspicious. Why would Earth ask for less time? Very well, the council leader agreed after a moment. 48 hours. After that, the war begins. Thank you, Jiwon said. She bowed again and turned to leave. As she walked toward the exit, her smile returned. She touched a small device on her wrist and spoke quietly. This is Ambassador Park. Protocol Guardian is now active. The war is declared. Begin Phase 2. Behind her, the council leader watched the human leave. Something about her confidence troubled him deeply. She had seemed almost happy about the declaration of war. What did Earth know that the rest of the galaxy did not? The answer to that question would change everything. Jiwon walked into Earth's embassy with quick steps. The building was already being packed up. Humans moved through the hallways carrying boxes and data storage units. Everyone worked in calm silence. They had practiced this evacuation many times. She went straight to her office and activated the secure communication system. Within seconds, a face appeared on the screen. It was Director Sarah Chen, head of Earth's Department of Galactic Health. They voted for war, Jiwon said without greeting. Unanimous? Sarah asked. Every single species. The infection is worse than we thought. Sarah nodded slowly. How much time do we have? 48 hours. I asked for less time than they offered. Good thinking. They will spend those hours wondering why. It might make some of them think. I hope so, Jiwon said. Begin releasing the evidence packages. Start with the species showing the least infection. The Threnodi, the Wavari, the Yinshen Collective. Already underway, Sarah confirmed. The medical teams are standing by. Once we prove the plague exists, we can begin treatment. Jiwon leaned back in her chair. Sarah, tell me again why we had to do it this way. Why we could not just tell them the truth from the beginning. Sarah's expression was sad. Because we tried that. 80 years ago, when we first discovered the plague, we told the Krillian Empire. We showed them the evidence. We offered to help. And they declared us insane, G1 finished. They said we were making up lies to control them. Worse than that, Sarah said. The act of telling them seemed to make the infection stronger. The plague has a defense mechanism. When you tell someone they are infected, their mind rejects it completely. They become even more paranoid and aggressive. Jiwon rubbed her eyes. She was tired. 80 years of Earth's secret war was coming to a head, and she was at the center of it. Tell me the whole story again, she said. I need to remember why this matters. Sarah began speaking, her voice taking on the tone of a teacher. In 2147, Earth's first deep space archaeology team was exploring dead worlds in the Outer Rim. They found ruins on a planet called Sanctuary 7. The ruins were old, maybe 1,000,000 years old. I remember the pictures, Jiwon said. Beautiful cities, all empty. The team found libraries, Sarah continued. Data storage that still worked after all that time. When they translated the records, they found a warning. The civilization that lived there called themselves the Harmonics. They were peaceful, curious, and they had built a wonderful society across 100 worlds. Until the plague came, Jiwon said softly. Yes, they called it the Sovereign Plague. It started small. Leaders became more aggressive. Governments became more controlling. Citizens started believing they needed strong rulers to protect them. Within 2 generations, the Harmonics went from a peaceful democracy to a military dictatorship. And then the civil wars began. Sarah nodded. The plague made them fight each other. Every faction believed they were the only ones fit to rule. They destroyed themselves completely. But before the end, their scientists figured out what was happening. They discovered the plague was not biological. It was mimetic. An idea that spreads like a disease, Jiwon said. Exactly. It travels through culture, through media, through conversation. It makes people believe that power and control are more important than freedom and cooperation. It makes them trust authority without question. It makes them see kindness as weakness. And we found evidence that it still exists in the galaxy. We found more than evidence, Sarah said grimly. We found the plague actively spreading. When Earth joined the Galactic Council in 2151, we thought we were meeting advanced civilizations. Instead, we met infected populations who did not even know they were sick. Jiwon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the spires of the council building against the alien sky. Why did it not infect us? She asked. That is the strange part, Sarah said. Earth's history protected us. We have always questioned authority. We have always argued with our leaders. We have hundreds of different governments, thousands of cultures, millions of competing ideas. The plague cannot take hold in a mind that constantly doubts and questions. So our chaos saved us. Our beautiful, messy, argumentative chaos saved us, Sarah agreed. When other species developed faster than light travel, they were already partially infected. They were ready to accept the plague. But humans? We are too stubborn. We refuse to agree on anything. The plague needs conformity to spread, and we are the most non-conforming species in the galaxy. And so we became doctors treating patients who refused to believe they are sick, Jiwon said. For 80 years, yes. We sent operatives across the galaxy. We posed as teachers, engineers, diplomats, merchants. We stopped wars before they could start. We removed infected leaders before they could spread the plague further. We did everything we could to slow the infection. But we could not cure it. Not until 5 years ago, Sarah said, her voice brightening slightly. Dr. Choi's team finally developed a treatment. It works by helping the infected mind recognize its own altered thought patterns. But the patient has to want to be cured. They have to be willing to see how they have changed. And the council just declared war on us, Jiwon said. They are not ready to be cured. Some of them might be, Sarah said. That is why we are releasing the evidence now. Some species are less infected than others. The Threnodi have been suspicious for years that something was wrong. The Wavari have historians who notice their culture becoming more violent. If we can get enough species to see the truth, the others might follow. And if they do not? Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then we fight a war we never wanted. We defend ourselves while trying to cure an enemy that thinks we are the disease. I hate this, Jiwon said quietly. I know. We all do. But we are the only ones who can see what is happening. We are the only ones who can stop it. Jiwon turned back to the screen. Begin Phase 2. Send the evidence to every species we identified as low infection. Give them 48 hours to study it. Let them decide for themselves. Already done, Sarah said. The packages went out 10 minutes ago. By morning, the galaxy will begin learning the truth. I hope they are ready for it, Jiwon said. They are not, Sarah replied. But we are out of time. The plague has grown too strong. If we do not act now, the entire galaxy will tear itself apart within a generation. Jiwon ended the call and sat in silence. Somewhere in the galaxy, the first evidence packages were being opened. Somewhere, a scientist was beginning to see the truth. Somewhere, the war for the galaxy's mind was beginning. The first response came from the Threnody Collective 12 hours after the evidence packages were sent. Ambassador Jiwon was still at the embassy when the message arrived. The Threnody were philosophers and empaths, a species that felt the emotions of others. Their representative appeared on Jiwon's screen, her face showing deep distress. "We have reviewed your evidence," the Threnody said. Her name was Lyra, and her voice trembled. "For 3 generations, our empaths have sensed something wrong in the galaxy. We felt anger where there should be peace. We felt hunger for power where there should be contentment. We thought we were imagining it. We thought we were becoming weak." "You were not weak," Jiwon said gently. "You were sensing the truth." "We scanned our own population as your data suggested," Lyra continued. 42% of our people show signs of the plague, including members of our ruling council." She paused, struggling with emotion. "How did we not see this?" "The plague hides itself," Jiwon explained. "It makes infected thoughts feel natural. It makes suspicion seem like wisdom and aggression seem like strength." "What do we do now?" Lyra asked. "Stand with us," Jiwon said. "When the war begins, refuse to fight. Begin treating your people. Help us convince others. The Council will call us traitors. The Council is infected. They will call anyone who resists a traitor. But you have the truth now. You have the evidence. You can save your people." Lyra nodded slowly. "The Threnody Collective stands with Earth." More responses came in over the next hours. The Wavari, a species of historians, confirmed the plague after studying their own records. They found a pattern they had missed before. Every war in their history began with leaders who spoke of strength and purity. Every dark age started with governments that demanded total loyalty. The Yinshan Collective sent their medical data. Their doctors found the mimetic markers in 60% of their population. The discovery horrified them, but not all responses were positive. The Krillian Empire sent a message calling the evidence human propaganda. The Vortan Confederacy announced that any species believing Earth's lies would be considered enemies. The militant factions grew stronger, not weaker. Speaker Vex appeared on the galactic news networks. His scales gleamed under the lights as he spoke to trillions of viewers. "Earth has created an elaborate deception," he announced. "They invent a plague that does not exist. They claim we are sick to justify their crimes. This is exactly what a species planning galactic conquest would do. They want us to doubt ourselves. They want us to seem weak and confused. We must not fall for their tricks." Many species believed him. The galaxy split into 3 groups: those who saw the truth, those who denied it, and those who wanted more proof before deciding. The council leader called an emergency session. He demanded that Earth stop spreading dangerous lies immediately. When Jiwon refused, he moved the war timeline forward. "The fleet launches in 24 hours, he declared. "Not 48. Earth has proven they cannot be trusted even for 2 days. But something unexpected happened. Across the galaxy, ordinary people were reading the evidence. They were asking questions. They were looking at their own leaders with new eyes. On the Krillian homeworld, a teacher named Kess read the entire evidence package to her students. She showed them how their textbooks had changed over the past century. History lessons that once celebrated peace now celebrated conquest. Stories that once valued cooperation now valued dominance. The students went home and asked their parents questions. The parents started asking questions too. On Thresh Prime, a doctor named Toval began scanning his patients for the mimetic markers. He found them in 70% of the population. When he published his findings, the government tried to arrest him, but other doctors had seen his data. They began their own scans. The truth spread faster than the government could contain it. And on Earth, Dr. Minjun Choi prepared for the most important broadcast of his life. He stood in a laboratory, surrounded by medical equipment and holographic displays. Cameras from across the galaxy were focused on him. Some species had banned the broadcast, but others were showing it live. "My name is Dr. Minjun Choi," he began, speaking slowly and clearly. "I am a neurologist and mimetic specialist. For 30 years, I have studied the sovereign plague. Today, I will show you how to detect it, how it spreads, and how it can be cured." He spoke for 2 hours. He showed brain scans comparing infected and healthy minds. He displayed cultural analysis showing how the plague altered societies over time. He presented genetic markers that indicated susceptibility. But most importantly, he showed the cure working. On camera, a volunteer named Reth sat in a medical chair. Reth was Vortan, one of the species most heavily infected. He had agreed to be treated on live broadcast. "Reth believes strongly in military strength," Dr. Choi explained. "He thinks the only way to have peace is through superior force. He trusts authority without question. He sees kindness as weakness. These are all symptoms of the plague." The treatment began. It was not medicine or surgery. It was a careful process of helping Reth see his own thoughts clearly. Trained psychologists guided him through memories, asking questions, showing him how his thinking had changed. It took 4 hours. Viewers across the galaxy watched in silence. And then Reth began to cry. "I remember," he said quietly. "I remember when I was young. I remember believing in peace. I remember trusting my neighbors. When did I change? When did I start thinking violence was the answer to everything?" "The plague changed you," Dr. Choi said gently, "but now you can see it. Now you can choose who you want to be." Reth looked at the camera, tears still flowing. "It is real. The plague is real. I felt it leave my mind. I felt myself become whole again." The broadcast ended. Within hours, 12 more species contacted Earth, requesting treatment protocols. Within a day, the number grew to 19. But the Council's war fleet was already launching. 200 ships from 30 species assembled in formation. Their weapons were armed. Their orders were clear: destroy Earth's orbital defenses and force humanity to surrender. The fleet's commander was a Krillian admiral named Zex. He stood on his ship's bridge and stared at the view screen showing Earth's blue world in the distance. "All ships," he commanded. "Prepare to attack. Humanity will learn the price of deception." His tactical officer looked up from her console. "Admiral, we are receiving new data. It is treatment protocols from Earth. They are broadcasting instructions on how to cure the plague." "Ignore it," Admiral Zex ordered. "It is propaganda. Fire on my command." But across the fleet, crews were reading the protocols. Some ships began to slow down. Some captains started asking questions. The war was beginning, but it was not the war the Council had planned. Admiral Zex watched his tactical display with growing confusion. The Council fleet had surrounded Earth's orbital space. 200 warships against Earth's modest defense force of 40 vessels. It should have been a quick battle. But Earth's ships were not fighting. "They are broadcasting on all frequencies," his communications officer reported. "Treatment protocols, historical data, medical scans. They are filling every channel with information about the plague." "Jam their signals," Zex ordered. We are trying, Admiral, but they are using frequencies we did not know existed, and they are broadcasting from thousands of satellites. We cannot block them all. On the view screen, an Earth ship drifted closer. It made no aggressive moves. Its weapons were powered down, but it kept broadcasting. Zex felt anger rise in his chest. These humans were making a mockery of galactic warfare. They were supposed to fight or surrender, not lecture. "All ships prepare to fire," he commanded, but his tactical officer hesitated. "Admiral, several ships are not responding to orders. The Wavari cruisers have powered down their weapons. 3 Yinshan destroyers are breaking formation." "What? Why?" "Their crews are reading the broadcasts, sir. They are questioning the mission." Zex slammed his fist on the command console. "This is exactly what the plague propaganda is designed to do. Make us doubt ourselves. Make us weak." His second officer, a younger Krillian named Mira, spoke carefully. "Admiral, what if the broadcasts are true? What if there really is a plague?" "There is no plague," Zex snapped. "There is only human deception." "But, sir, the medical data seems legitimate, and the historical patterns match our own records. I checked our archives. We really did become more militant over the past 3 centuries. "That is called progress," Zex said. "We became strong because we needed to survive." "Or because we were infected," Mira said quietly. Zex turned to stare at her. "You believe them? You believe the humans?" "I do not know what I believe," Mira admitted, "but I think we should consider the possibility. What if we are wrong?" Other officers on the bridge were listening now. Zex could see doubt on their faces. The plague propaganda was working. It was getting inside his crew's minds. "Enough," he declared. "We follow our orders. We attack Earth. That is final." He reached for the fire control, but his hand stopped halfway. On the view screen, something was happening. One of Earth's larger ships had launched hundreds of small pods. They were spreading across the battlefield, each one broadcasting even more data. And on those broadcasts, Zex saw something that made him freeze. It was footage of himself, from 20 years ago. He was younger, giving a speech to new recruits, but the words he spoke were different from what he remembered. In the video, young Admiral Zex said, "We serve to protect, not to conquer. We use force only when peace has failed. Remember that strength without mercy is just cruelty." Zex stared at the screen. He did not remember saying those words. He did not remember ever believing them. When had he changed? "Admiral," Mira asked softly, "are you all right?" Zex opened his mouth to give the attack order, but the words would not come. Instead, he heard himself ask, "How long ago did I stop believing in peace?" The bridge fell silent. On Earth, Dr. Choi watched the battle that was not happening. His screens showed the Council fleet frozen in space, neither attacking nor retreating. On dozens of ships, crews were reading the broadcasts and questioning their orders. "It is working," Sarah Chen said beside him. "They are starting to see." "Some of them," Dr. Choi agreed, "but not all. Look at the Vortan battlecruisers. They are still advancing." He was right. 12 Vortan warships were ignoring the broadcasts and moving closer to Earth. Their weapons were charging. "We need the Council leader to see the truth," Sarah said. "If he admits to the infection, others will follow." "He is the most heavily infected of all," Dr. Choi said. "Convincing him will be nearly impossible." "Then we make it public," Sarah decided. "We broadcast directly to him in front of the entire galaxy. We show him what he has become." She activated a communication channel. Within seconds, she was connected to every news network in known space. Trillions of beings would see this conversation. The Council leader's crystalline face appeared on screen. His light pulsed angry red. "Humanity," he said coldly. "Surrender now or be destroyed." "Council leader," Sarah said calmly, "I want to show you something." Images from your own archives, from before the plague infected your species. I will not watch your propaganda. Then do not watch for me. Watch for yourself. Sarah played footage from Vortan history. It showed the council leader as a young politician, 200 years ago. He was giving a speech about cooperation and understanding between species. The young council leader said, "Violence should always be our last choice, not our first response. We must remember that every species has value. Every life matters." The current council leader watched in silence. His light flickered between colors. Sarah played more footage, speech after speech, year after year. Each one showed the council leader becoming harder, angrier, more certain that force was the only answer. "You changed," Sarah said simply. "Not all at once, slowly over decades. The plague rewrote your thoughts so gradually that you did not notice." "I became wiser," the council leader said, but his voice was uncertain. "I learned that peace requires strength." "No," Sarah said. "You became infected, and the infection made you forget who you were." The council leader's light went dark, complete blackness. Across the galaxy, viewers who understood Vortan body language gasped. Darkness meant complete confusion or deep emotional pain. When the light returned, it was dim blue, the color of sadness. "I do not remember being that person," the council leader said quietly. "I do not remember believing those words, but I can see myself saying them. I can see that I meant them." "The plague took those memories from you," Dr. Choi said, joining the conversation. "It replaced them with thoughts of power and control. But we can help you recover. We can cure the infection." "If I agree to treatment," the council leader asked slowly, "what happens to me?" "You will remember who you were," Dr. Choi said. "You will see how the plague changed you. It will be difficult. You will have to face choices you made while infected. You will have to accept responsibility for things the plague made you do. And if I refuse treatment, then you stay infected. You continue making decisions based on corrupted thoughts, and eventually the plague will destroy your species, just like it destroyed the harmonics." The council leader was silent for a long time. The entire galaxy waited. Finally, he spoke. "I request treatment, publicly. I want everyone to see what happens." "Are you certain?" Sarah asked. "No," the council leader admitted. "I am terrified, but I am more terrified of staying infected. I am more terrified of what I have become." The treatment began immediately. Broadcast across every screen in the galaxy. It took 8 hours. Viewers watched as the council leader remembered, grieved, and slowly recovered his true self. When it ended, he spoke to the galaxy with clear eyes. "The plague is real," he said. "I was infected. I made decisions that hurt innocent people because I could not see my own corrupted thinking. I am sorry, and I ask all of you to seek treatment before it is too late." Across the council fleet, ships began standing down. One by one, captains requested treatment protocols for their crews. The war ended without a single shot fired. 3 months after the war that never happened, Ambassador Ji-won Park stood in a very different council chamber. The old chamber had been closed for renovation. This new space was designed differently. With round tables instead of hierarchical seating, every species sat at the same level now. They called it the Galactic Rehabilitation Council. 31 species had joined so far, each one committed to treating their infected populations and helping others do the same. The council leader, who now asked to be called by his personal name, Varen, led the sessions with quiet humility. "We have treated 40% of known infected individuals," he reported. "The process is slow because it cannot be forced. Each person must choose to see their own infection. Each person must choose to heal." "What about the resistance?" asked Lyra of the Threnody. "The ones who refuse treatment?" Varen's crystalline light dimmed. 16 species have rejected treatment entirely. Their leaders claim the plague does not exist. They say the treated individuals are actually the ones who have been brainwashed. Jiwon was not surprised. The most heavily infected could not see their own condition. They thought healthy minds were sick, and sick minds were healthy. The plague protected itself that way. "We cannot force them," she said. "We can only offer help and wait for them to be ready." "Some of them will never be ready," Speaker Mira said. She was the Krillian officer who had questioned Admiral Zex during the battle. She had been treated and promoted to representative after her former leaders refused treatment and resigned. "The Pure Council is growing stronger." The Pure Council was what the Resistance called themselves. Ships from the 16 untreated species had gathered at the galaxy's outer rim. They claimed to be preserving true galactic culture against human corruption. Their fleet numbered nearly 300 vessels now. "They will attack eventually," Varen said. "They believe violence is strength. That is what the plague teaches." "Let them come," said Ambassador Toval of Thresh Prime. "We are not defenseless, but we will not attack first. We will not prove them right by acting like conquerors." Jiwon looked around the table at these beings who had chosen healing over pride. Each one had gone through the difficult process of seeing how they had been infected. Each one had faced terrible truths about themselves. Varen had watched recordings of decisions he made while infected. He had ordered military strikes that killed civilians. He had imprisoned peaceful protesters. The plague had convinced him these actions were necessary. Now he worked every day to make amends. Lyra had discovered that half the Threnody government was infected. Many were her friends. Watching them refuse treatment while defending their corrupted thinking broke her heart daily. Toval had learned his own medical research had been influenced by the plague. For years, he had ignored evidence of the infection because the plague would not let him see it. They had all suffered. They were all still healing. "I want to talk about Earth," Varen said, changing the subject. "We need to understand why humans were immune. If we understand that, we might better protect future generations." Dr. Choi activated a holographic display. "We have studied this extensively. The plague is mimetic, which means it spreads through ideas and culture. It needs certain conditions to take hold." He showed a chart comparing species' social structures. The plague thrives in societies that value conformity and hierarchy. It spreads fastest in cultures where questioning authority is discouraged. It grows strong in places where everyone is expected to think the same way. "And Earth?" asked Mira. "Earth is chaos," Dr. Choi said with a slight smile. "We have never agreed on anything. We have hundreds of governments, thousands of cultures, millions of different opinions. We argue about everything. We question every authority. We refuse to conform." "You celebrate disagreement," Lyra said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Exactly. The plague cannot survive in a mind that constantly doubts and questions. It cannot spread through a culture that values diversity of thought. Our weakness became our strength." "You were not weak," Varen said firmly. "You were healthy. We were the sick ones who mistook your health for illness." Jiwon felt emotion rise in her throat. For 80 years, Earth had been called chaotic, disorganized, primitive. Other species had looked down on humanity for our inability to unite under single leadership. They had pitied us for our constant arguments and disagreements. But that messy, argumentative nature had saved humanity, and now it might save the galaxy. "What is our role now?" Jiwon asked. "Earth did not want to lead. We did not want power. We only wanted to heal." "Then that is what you will do," Varen said. "Earth will train healers. You will teach other species how to recognize the plague and how to treat it. You will be the galaxy's immune system." The idea settled over the council like a blanket. It felt right. "The Guardian Alliance," Toval suggested. "Not a military alliance, a medical one. We guard each other against the plague. We protect the mind's freedom to choose itself. They voted unanimously to adopt the name. Over the next weeks, the first Guardian training facility opened on Earth. Volunteers from 31 species came to learn. They studied memetics, psychology, and history. They learned how to recognize infection in themselves and others. They learned how to guide healing without forcing it. Ji-Won taught the first class. She stood before 200 students from dozens of worlds and felt hope for the first time in years. You are here to learn humanity's greatest gift, she told them. Not technology, not weapons, not even medicine. You are here to learn skepticism. Skepticism? A student asked, confused. The ability to question, Ji-Won explained. The courage to doubt. The wisdom to know that authority is not always right. The strength to think for yourself even when everyone around you thinks differently. She walked between the tables, looking at each student. The plague wants you to obey without thinking. It wants you to follow without questioning. It wants you to believe that conformity equals safety. Your job is to help people remember that free thought is not dangerous. It is essential. A Vortan student raised her hand. But how do we teach this without forcing our ideas on others? Is that not just another kind of infection? Ji-Won smiled. That is exactly the right question to ask. And the fact that you asked it means you understand. We do not teach people what to think. We teach them how to think. We show them their own minds clearly. The rest is their choice. Months passed. The Guardian Alliance grew. More species joined. More infected individuals chose treatment. The galaxy slowly healed. But at the outer rim, the Pure Council fleet waited. They were the ones too infected to see their infection, too certain of their righteousness to question it. They would attack eventually. The Guardians knew this. Let them come, Ji-Won said when asked about the threat. We will defend ourselves, but we will also offer them healing, every single time. We will never stop offering hope. She stood at the window of the training facility, looking up at stars that held both healed worlds and infected ones. The war they declared was already over, she said quietly to herself. Humanity won it before the Council even knew they were infected. We won it by refusing to let ideas control us. We won it by staying free. Behind her, students from across the galaxy learned to protect that freedom. The galaxy's immune system was awakening. The plague had spread far, but healing had begun. And humanity, the chaotic, argumentative, beautiful mess of a species, stood at the center. Not as conquerors, not as rulers, as guardians of the mind's right to be free.